Dun, dun, dun.
This is the Justuff League.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Justuff League. Yeah, that was a little bit of a weird harmonization.
It's kind of hard because I got you guys on Bluetooth. I'm not sure if I'm syncing right with the video and everything else. So.
No, you know what I did? I chose not to sing at all and just look at the camera menacingly and point at it like this. I didn't sing a
scary.
note.
What are you dropping a mixtape?
Like you're
No,
wearing
dog, I just want people to watch the YouTube.
it looks like you're wearing a Mickey Mouse glove when you do that.
Oh yeah, I thought
Elliot.
Elliot. Why do you have a Mickey Mouse glove on?
Oh, I'm gonna put this up your butt, Kevin.
Mickey.
Oh my God. All right, reel it back in. Here we go. This is a good topic, good subject of debate. Ready? And I'm going to lead it with
our master debater?
Master debate, yes. God damn it. No. So this is an article that first hit on The Drive and then was later picked up by Haggerty. Haggerty, the insurance company, who also publishes a lot about cars. But the topic of restoration versus preservation. And this is something going down in the ultra 1% car world that has a lot of people up in blaze. So what happened? A 1956 Maserati A6G 54. It's one of 4 coach-built supercars from Maserati at the time that originally sold out of this very famous barn find. It was referred to as the Ballion Estate. It ended up selling at the Paris Retromobile Show. The entire auction as a cumulative total brought well over $50 million. Some highlights from it were a single Ferrari that brought, $18 million for a Ferrari California Spider. But this Maserati in question,
the value of the auction.
Yes, but this Maserati in question sold for $2.2 million at the time. Went to an American buyer. His name is out there, Jonathan Siegel. He's a car collector. He's a San Diego architect. He bought this barn find, got it running because the story was this car was parked in 1959 in the French barn and was left. And if you go and refer to this article on The Drive, if you just search The Drive Maserati barn find, you can see the picture of this Maserati right next to the Ferrari, covered in books. And after Jonathan, the owner of it, got this Maserati driving, it later went on, it placed second place in the Real Deal Concours d'Elegance for the preservation class. It's been on a world tour. Everybody can't believe how beautiful of a Maserati this is, that it's one of 4 that exists, and it's still in its original paint, the whole 9. And now, 5 years later, after buying it and preserving it, this guy, Jonathan Siegel, has decided to do a complete frame off, engine out restoration, and literally it has car nerds trolling beyond trolling. I've never seen. There you go, Supp. Great teamwork right there. The subtle hint of try to pull this thing up.
Yep. The Maserati's on the right. Yeah.
Yep. The Maserati
I'll
is
tell you right now.
Ferrari's covered in books.
Tell you right now, those cars, it's been cleaned underneath them several times. Yeah, it's technically a barn find, but there's air in those tires. And I'm sorry, this photo's been set up. Just throwing that out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt it. This was used as marketing for the auction when it took place at the time. But the point is, this story is what leads us to the topic of today that I thought was of restoration versus preservation. So this guy's answer to everybody is, screw you, go buy your own car. But what is the actual real thing to do? Because we saw it with American furniture, 70s, 80s, 90s. Everybody loved to refinish, bring back these pieces of furniture, make them look new. All right. Now everybody hates refinished and they want original surface.
Okay,
bring it on, Kev.
I can understand about the cars because I twist with this in my brain, and here's my only conclusion I can think of why a guy like this would do this. And number one, let's just put it this way. You got to take it from my aspect where, you don't have the money to do whatever the frig you want to do. And you got to take it from this guy's aspect where he could literally take that car and run it off a cliff and laugh about it. And it's not going to probably change his life. So he could do whatever he wants to the car. But there are many times I feel people love to have a car that's all original, even if it doesn't look perfect. We love that. But at some point that car starts to deteriorate. And you need to do something, because if you don't, then it becomes a fucked up car. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
So
but
you've got to hit it at that time when you've enjoyed the most out of it being as original it could be forever, and then boom, here comes that time where you just got to do it. Maybe it's that time for the Maserati.
but couldn't you just continually you preserve the car that you have? I mean, you
They
keep
rot. They
Yeah,
rot.
it's
The joints wear away right down to metal on metal. The rubber disappears. All that.
you're gonna have to replace the CV boost. You're gonna have to replace the tires. You're gonna have to replace the water pump eventually when it wears out. The impeller's gonna go. Now you've got to rebuild your engine because the head gasket is now warped. What next? What next? And if are these cars meant to be used or are they all museum pieces?
I guess it's one thing if you dip it in Cosmoline and just leave it there, but this guy has the money and he wants to fix it
Yeah.
because it's probably getting fucked up staying original. That's simple.
But wouldn't you say though, outside of this one car, but wouldn't you say the collecting trend today, regardless of category, is to preserve rather than restore?
No.
No,
I think-
interesting.
I think there's arguments for both sides, because people think that this is a cool car, but you can do this to it and make it cooler. And in their mind, that is cool. They love that, and that puts their smile on their face. I can understand the custom hot rod. There it is right there. They're out there. People love them. But I can also appreciate, which it's just what I said, I'll repeat it, that yes, I think in everyone who's out there loves to see, who is into cars, a beautiful example of a survivor that can be shown and looked at and loved and appreciated and is beautiful. But at some point, you're going to look at your Isuzu and you're going to get in it one day, and the fucking wheel bearing's going to lock up on you because all the other wheel bearings are no good. And while you're under there, you're going to notice that all the CV boots are all cracked now. So now you got to replace all. And while you do that, you might as well take the subframe out because that's getting rusty. And what's going to happen? You know what I mean? So it ends up turning into, you know what? I'm going to restore this car. So that's what
Here's
happens.
kind of
I
what-
feel.
Like resto mods are a big thing nowadays, but everybody wants to be the first to take the Virgin's cherry. Frankly, everyone wants that barn find, and they want to be the one to do the restoration work on. They want to be the one to take it away. But much like taking the Virgin's cherry, that thing's a lot of responsibility. It takes a lot of work afterwards.
But
and you can't keep it that way forever.
Get a Virgin's cherry. I was just sneezing. I came back to take the
old.
Virgin's cherry.
I love how you just referred your analogy. Supp was like, yeah, when you take a virginity, it requires a lot of work. You gotta give her care, tender, loving care afterwards.
It's true, and if nothing happens, she just turns into an old spinster. And
okay, but what I was saying, I want to come back to originally when you started and you gave me that blank answer, James. You said no. So you think across all collecting, you think restoration is more common than
with
preservation?
Cars in particular, that preservation takes a back seat to resto mods. Everyone there's a lot more attention and a lot more money in repro parts and fixing cars up your way, hot rodding, that sort of thing, than there is in preserving cars in their current state.
So I just want to clarify some language. Resto mod is replying restored but modified. So we're saying, but a true restoration you feel as well?
Okay,
but what about with antiques?
Okay, a true restoration would be, in my mind, almost a conservation effort. You're trying to restore that car to factory original condition. A resto mod is modifying it in some way, whether it's adding air conditioning or a different engine. It's not quite hot rodding. I think it's a little more subtle than that. You're trying to keep the outward appearance, but trying to modernize it, give it disc brakes or what have you. Hot rodding, just making an awesome little car. But when you're talking about preservation, you're trying to maintain it in its current state. Maybe you're doing conservation work where you're trying to stop any active rust, keep it from deteriorating any more to the best of your ability without adding anything to it. I don't think very many very many car collectors are interested in true conservation. I think museums are, but most collectors aren't.
Now, let's scale down the size. What about toy cars and trucks? Now, if we're
That's a different planet, and I'll be honest, I'm on these different sword forums and military collecting forums, and I want to punch so many people in the face because they have no freaking idea whatsoever what it means to actually preserve things. They have no clue. They want to, repaint, refinish because that'll conserve it, or they want to take their A2 leather jacket and cover it with Picards or all these other oils that'll destroy them. I mean, a lot of these folks don't have any idea of what it takes to actually preserve things. So that's challenging for me to get past, because preservation is such a difficult art. Even museums are debating what's the best way to preserve things every day.
But that's why it makes a great argument, because there is a teetering point where you teeter from one to the other, to where you restore it, or
Yeah.
you repair it. It's like one or the other. You like a lot of people get a car. We'll say I don't know, 1970 Chevelle, right?
Okay.
And most of the time it's going to be rotted. Most of the time it's going to have issues. So you almost need to restore just about all the old cars when you get them, because they're beyond usually good condition. But when you do find those good ones, okay, that are in good shape, you tend to just do what little you have to do in order to keep them going and looking nice, because you're on that restoration path, that path I talk about, that path where you're enjoying, like Travis has a cool Isuzu right now in '92. I have some BMWs that the very much original, some of them, and you do everything you can just to keep them going and keep them
Yeah.
beautiful as an original vehicle. But someday that car's going to need restoration.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm torn about it all the time. Every other day, not every other day, but I say, well, do I keep the Isuzu alive as it is, or do I one day have it fully restored, engine ripped out, rotisserie, and make it absolutely beautiful?
Yeah, but the thing is, the cars are useful objects. It's like a piano. No one complains if the piano has been repaired on the inside, because a non-working piano is worse than a working grand piano.
Right.
Okay.
The functionality is inherent to part of to its value, I think.
Now, there's something interesting, James. You're right, right? With a piano, functionality inherent to the value. Now, ask any watch collector what their opinion is of if you send your Rolex back to Rolex for service.
Hmm.
They
Go
get,
on.
because
People
Rolex,
lose their minds.
yes, because Rolex, just as a corporation, will do what is best for the watch to make it up to new standards, replace parts, replace dials, replace indices, hands, etc. And the crazy part is, if you read all the Rolex forums, when Rolex removes those parts from your watch, it's not like they destroy them. They actually keep them for their vintage outlet of how they sell vintage parts. So when you have a Rolex, you don't want to have it serviced or restored back by Rolex, because they're going to change things to make it new. You want to just have it so it's conserved. You want to have it just maintained.
Well, that's why you take it to a factory trained watch guy, but not the factory itself, because they will replace it. They're not going to refinish it. They're not going to repair it. They're going to repair it, but they're not. They're going to swap out things to make it work as a watch, not as a vintage timepiece.
Right.
So we're going to say, with cars, restoration wins over preservation. But if we're going to throw it out to general antiques, we're going to say preservation wins, correct? Or no?
I have mixed feelings. Everybody wants. I think part of it. I won't even say preservation, not even conservation. Maintained. Oh, great example. So you get your Star Wars figure graded by AFA. You can't do anything else to conserve it. Once it's in that plastic case, it's done for. You literally cannot do anything to change it, right?
Unless you smash the case. Take it
Unless
out.
you knock it out of the case. What happens if, while it's in the case, and it came back at AFA 85, that's a very high grade, but now the bubble, the plastic dome that protects the figure, tears from just being shifted around?
Happens all the time. Figures burst through bubbles.
Yeah. what does that do to the value of it now?
Destroys it.
Yeah, but you're not actually preserving it. You're maintaining its current condition to the best of your ability by putting it in that case. But you're not taking any action to really preserve it past that.
Yeah, and but you're saying is if you have it graded and then your figure bursts through the bubble, I mean, there's nothing you can do. It's out of your control. You can't. There's no going back.
Right. I mean, but it is better protected than if you had that figure loose kicking around your house for 5 years. It is going to be better protected in the case, better preserved, I guess.
All right, let me throw out another loop for you, another scenario. I have a great piece of early American stoneware. Do I want it with the lip chipped and the handle broken, or do I want the handle and the chip professionally restored back to make it look good?
Ooh.
Or do you want it original?
I think on stoneware, you don't touch it.
Yeah, I think for the most part, as close to the original condition, as long as it's not cracked in half.
But if you had a piece of art pottery, A-R-T pottery, it would probably be better to have it professionally restored.
Oh, so you're saying if you had like a great George Orr vase or something like that?
It had a little chip, you're probably better off having that all fixed. Like really good.
I mean, if you've got Native American pottery that was originally in potsherds, it definitely is worth more when it's been reassembled than in a bunch of pieces.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of a sliding scale. If it's just a chip on the edge of a Hopi pot, not a big deal. But if it's in 19 pieces, yeah, you definitely want it glued back together.
I think the car part of it is an interesting, like different than some of these different subjects we're talking about, because there's definitely passion on both sides of having an original vehicle as opposed to a restored vehicle. I don't know if the passions run as deep and crazy in whether or not you should have your Roseville with a chip or without a chip. Do you know what I'm trying to say? There's like real passions in the auto when it comes to that.
I remember it clear as day when I went to Meekum with my father and a couple other guys in the family. There was a 68 Corvette, okay, Stingray style. And it was a big block car, fuel injected, the whole nine, every option you want. The red paint was so cracked. The lacquer paint was so cracked down to the fiberglass. The interior, they left the seats ripped. They let even the hay and the dirt was still on the floor in the car. All they did was get it running, that you could actually drive this thing in its current state. And it set a record for the C3 Corvette at like 550,000 hammer for being a truly untouched, fuel-injected big block Survivor.
I mean, it's a Survivor. It wasn't untouched because they got it running. But I mean,
what is that car worth redone?
Not that.
But again,
I think it was bought as an art piece.
Yeah, or bragging rights. I think a lot of it comes down to the rarest of the rare.
And people being able to swing $500,000 just for the fuck of it because they can and because it made TV news and because it made interesting news, they want to be the owner of it.
Now, did they still keep it in that same condition?
I don't know. I've never followed up. I mean, hey, even when the Bullet Mustang sold, the Steve McQueen Bullet Mustang, other than it being the Steve McQueen Bullet Mustang, it looked like a shitbox, rotted out fastback that shouldn't be worth more than
Mexico.
It sold for $4 million.
Yeah, but I think that was the one that was found in Mexico, right?
Maybe if you search just Meekum Bullet Mustang, it'll pop up right away.
The Mustang was found in Mexico?
I think that's what it was.
But it's like if you had that.
It's a curious thing. So American Pickers, was it Mike Wolf? He's selling his bicycle collection, and his bicycle, part of his bicycle and scooter collection, and he keeps them in the condition he found them in. He doesn't restore them, doesn't try to get them running. He keeps them that original way he found them, which is very rare, frankly.
I can't believe he's selling his bicycle collection. That guy loves bicycles.
Part of it. I don't think he's selling all of it. I mean,
that's it. Times are tough over on History Channel.
Well, I think when you have 500 or 600 bicycles, you can afford to sell a portion of them.
Oh my God! What the hell do you do with 600 bicycles?
Sell them. I mean,
Oh my
A lot of
God.
bikes.
That's crazy. You know, that show has gone through so many twists. I'm just thinking of American Pickers. I haven't watched it in a very long time. But when I flip through and it comes on, it's like the other guy, Frank, is gone. They're like the brothers on there or something, and there's two locations. It seems like it's gone through a lot of twists and turns.
And that
there's
girl's
some
gone.
changes.
The
What the hell?
tattooed chick?
Yeah, she's gone.
Yep, there we are.
No way. She's not gone.
Yeah, she's
Wow.
Is she?
Yep.
New rule
So-
of thumb for this show: the History Channel can suck it, and they don't exist.
Yeah,
Nice.
PK.
I like that.
All right. I will say though, from the time when I was in like middle school, I used to love History Channel. It was all about World War II and Korean War, and like just every show was just about like America and how awesome it is.
We
Now you
have
don't-
100% talked about this before, Travis. Exactly this. And what I said to you back then was, and I'll say it again: why do you think we got Nazis walking around in America today? Because the History Channel used to be, before it was all Pawn Stars and American Pickers and shit, it was the fucking Hitler Channel. And a bunch of people were like, yo, this shit's kind of cool. What? Eugenics? What the fuck's that about? Oh my God, we can get rid of like mentally disabled people, no more Down syndrome. Yo, Hitler was kind of what's up. That's
No,
exactly
that's not what I don't
that's
think
what
that's
the History
thing.
Channel did in the early 2000s, dog. I had cable. I watched that shit.
I think it was more showing how America was an iron force in ridding the world of evil and eradicating the threat.
Yeah, but also being like, the Nazis were so cool, though. We actually hired them to be in the
They
space
dressed
program,
well.
Project Paperclip, etc.
That is crazy to think, you know, like how did and we're speaking of hiring
Okay, but the
scientists,
video games the kids play with today are fine. That's not going to
Hey.
be anything. Let's not
Hey.
worry
Not-
about that.
Medal
Those
of
were
not to
Honor,
go on a,
PlayStation 1, classic shooter Nazi in the head game. I love that shit.
not to go on a tangent, but I'm just curious, where does like you know how you say we hired Nazi scientists? Kevin was showing me a crazy video the other day of how like someone who escaped North Korea and how truly isolated their people are and understanding. It's like for a country that's so closed off, where the hell do they get educated scientists to actually develop rockets and bio warfare if they're so isolated?
They
and
fucking kidnap them from other countries.
Have you
I
heard of
don't-
the internet?
Yeah, but you
Heard of
can't get.
libraries?
It's not like
Yeah, but you
baking a
think-
chocolate cake recipe on the internet.
I mean,
It's a little bit complicated. I get it, but I mean, with enough effort. I mean, that's how many million people there. You can with enough
Travis,
time and effort, you can
Like
figure it out.
1992, they started with the search term how to make gunpowder, and then it just went from there. And now they're just all over it, everywhere.
Yeah,
but
it's
anyway,
like
yeah,
how it's
I.
made.
How to make a 38 special bullet.
Yep.
There they were.
Oh, we
Oh,
made the
God.
band again. Now we just
Wow.
got a bunch of 30
Hey.
special cover band. No,
Just look at that slippery slope. We went from Mike Wolf selling bicycle collection, Hitler Channel, to North Korea developing science. Biowarfare.
Exactly. And everybody lets History Channel off the fucking hook like it's nothing. Think about how easy it was for us to get here. Think about how easy it is for the audience to get there as well over the whole course of the last 2 decades.
and that's how the algorithm gets you.
I think producer Kyle has like a vendetta against the History
Definitely
Channel.
does. I gotta
Goddamn
hear
right I
this
do.
on
I got
our own
Nazis out
time.
in the streets and
Nazis.
shit. Fuck yeah. Hey, you grew up watching Indiana Jones, Travis? I feel like maybe you didn't.
I love Indiana Jones. I've seen
Yeah?
them all. Yeah,
What's the first
multiple
rule of
times.
Indiana Jones.
See a Nazi, you punch it.
I was actually going to say it belongs in a museum, but rule
Oh.
2 is you see a Nazi, you punch him in the face.
Rule 3,
Very-
throw the girl the gun.
Very good. Very
Solid
wow.
advice.
You know, I just had to think. I was like, "What the hell were we talking about in this episode?" Oh,
That's
restoration versus
restoration.
preservation.
So, for my part, it's pretty simple. If you don't know what you're doing, which is 99% of us, and doesn't have any use, if it's just a piece of decor, do as little as possible to keep it in the best condition possible. But at the end of the day, it's your shit. It's your car. It's your pottery. Do whatever you want with it. But if you want to maintain value, try to keep it as original as possible.
Last question for you, Supp, because it's specifically in your area, and then we can kill it. Then we beat it. You have a great 16th century
that,
set of
folks.
armor. What do you
We
do?
can what?
Eat that horse.
Well, what's the matter with it when you get it? Is it like in pristine condition? You do nothing. What if it's all rusted and the bronze mounts on it have bronze disease? Well, what do?
Yeah.
I'm asking Supp. He's the armor guy.
Restore it. I mean, there is a whole bunch of conservation work that you can do. There are very few unfucked with pieces out there, but you try to maintain as much of the original finish as you can. You try to maintain as much as the original parts as you can, but it's perfectly okay to replace the leather, certain pieces you can repair as much as possible. But all the repairs you do in it should be reversible to the best of your ability.
It's hard to say because if you found an unbelievable set of armor with just the most supple old leather in it from the 16th century because it was kept in lanolin by
I wouldn't
priests for the last fucking 400 years, then maybe you would never want to even touch your fingers on that thing and you would want to keep it in So this is one of those conversations that's going to bounce back and forth a million times
and there's no right answer.
There is no right answer.
Yeah.
Because there is no right answer.
Well, actually, no, there is. There is. It's your shit. Do what you want with it.
That's right. It's your shit. When people buy the dresser, they're like, "Oh, do you think I should do this? Do you think I should?" I say, "I don't care if you use it for starter firewood in your fucking
as long as your check
stove
clears
tonight, whatever you have. As long as your check clears and you're happy with it, you go do what you want with it. It's yours now."
Hey, I couldn't believe the other day, watching Roadshow, Major Learning Curve, our colleague James Devon Eastman from Swan, she had that Shakespeare book, and she said right in there, a collector would easily have this rebound. New cover, new back, rebind the book. The binding, I guess, means jack shit to a book person.
Which
they just care about the... Yeah, that's crazy. Because if you were to rebind a comic book, people would castrate you.
Okay, but there's a whole different thing about bindings. Okay?
Right.
We're talking books that were purchased in, 1840 to, prior to that. Well, when you had your book bound, you would go there and go, "Hey, I brought you this leather. Could you bound this book in this leather and do some pretty pink flowers on the outside of it for me with a little twill design around the edge and the front with the titling?"
Bound originally.
They didn't come bound. You had your book bound. So a bound is just like a frame. It becomes your own personal taste. So you might have a wonderful 18th century book with a leather binding on it that's beautiful, but whoever owned that book was the one who put that binding on it. So if you want to put a new one on it, fucking go for it.
But here's the kicker. So 17th century
Nobody might like your binding. They might not like your strawberry cheesecake printed design you put on your 18th century medical book. They're definitely going to like that brown leather with the burgundy little square on the outside,
bit of gilding
gold
and
lettering.
Everybody likes strawberry cheesecake, Kevin. Do not be ridiculous.
So listen, if you want to live with that book and it makes you smile every night before you go to bed, then my idea is to cover it with strawberry cheesecake. But when you go to sell it, don't bitch at me.
There you go.
What were you going to say, Supp?
I don't remember. I'm still on strawberry cheesecake.
Strawberry shortcake, cheesecake, whatever her name is.
Same boat, honestly. I'm hungry as
cheesecake.
hell now that somebody said it out loud and then I said it again. But we're basically coming up on it. So restoration versus preservation. It kind of depends on the topic or depends on the item in question, I think is what we're saying.
For sure.
Yep.
I think
again, it's yours. And if you do restore the rarest of the rare and you screw it up, that's fine. You just made everybody else's more valuable.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service.
Hey, I bet you if Andy Warhol took that car and painted something crazy on the hood of it, it would even be even more valuable, even after the fact.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? So
if he
it's just the world in which you live in.
As an art piece.
Oh, I think another good ending note, PK, is we should ask people for some recommendations. Let us know what you want to hear. That tagline?
Yeah, man, never hurts. We're always open to episode suggestions from the listeners. Thank you to all. Got a lot of positive feedback from like a handful of listeners over the last few months. Mostly just in the realm of like, hey, I listen to you guys every week. Tuesday's my favorite day of the week. I got something to listen to with my coffee, stuff like that. So all the people checking our stuff out every Tuesday, we appreciate you. But yeah, also we want to know what you want to hear us talk about. So feel free to hit me up. Instagram is probably the place we're most active at Justuff League. You can also send us an email as well. All of the links to contact us are in the show notes. So So rate, subscribe, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Justuff, leave.